You ever come home from a war zone, thinking you've already survived the worst, only to find out the real enemy was waiting for you in broad daylight, wearing yoga pants, a fresh manicure, and the kind of smirk that says, "Welcome home, sucker." That's how I learned there's nothing more dangerous than a bored HOA president with a clipboard and no moral compass. While I was dodging Taliban bullets in Afghanistan, Karen Whitmore, a woman who makes poodles nervous and realtors tremble, stole my family's 200-acre ranch and texted me a photo of a bulldozer parked right on top of my grandmother's grave. I touched down in Texas, and instead of cattle, there were McMansions as far as the eye could see. Karen was there, standing with that grin, clipboard in hand. "Welcome home, soldier," she purrs. "We improved your little property while you were playing war." Playing war. That's what she called it. I should have known, then she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. See, my family's land, the Broken Arrow Ranch, nestled in the Texas Hill Country, wasn't just a patch of grass and mesquite trees. My great-grandfather earned it with blood in the Pacific and built it up, one callous and one promise at a time. I'd sworn to my grandmother, Elena, on her deathbed, that I'd never let strangers take what was ours. 3 weeks later, I deployed, left the ranch in the care of Walt Kowalski, our 89-year-old neighbor, a Korean War vet who'd rather cut off his own hand than break his word. "Don't worry, Becca," he told me, gripping my shoulder with those old rancher hands. "This place will be just how you left it." Then Karen slithered into Wildflower Estates, the luxury subdivision next door, driving a Range Rover that probably cost more than my whole spread. Week 1, she called the county about agricultural odors from my cattle. Week 2, she complained about the roosters that had been crowing since the Reagan years. By month 3, she was holding concerned neighbor meetings, waving her acrylics around like a general plotting the Normandy invasion. "That ranch is destroying our property values," she'd say, with all the drama of a soap opera villain. The Torres situation, she called it, like my family was a math problem. But while I was trying not to get blown up in Kandahar, Karen was mining county records like she was panning for gold. She found some crusty old covenant from the 70s about residential conformity. Legal nonsense, so vague she could twist it any way she liked. Next thing I know, she'd incorporated the Wildflower Estates Community Association, declared herself president, and started foreclosure proceedings for non-conforming agricultural use. Her lawyer sent all the right letters to my ranch, where only Walt and his failing eyesight lived. Poor Walt thought they were Medicare scams, stuck him in the kitchen drawer beside expired coupons. Me? I was out where internet is a rumor and the only constant is the sound of gunfire. 6 months pass. Judge Harrison issues a default judgment, 47 grand in fees, plus Karen's legal costs. The ranch would be auctioned to pay off community damages. Here's the kicker. Karen's LLC wins the auction for $50,000 on a ranch worth over $2 million. By the time I made it home, she'd already started construction on Wildflower Estates, Phase 2. Luxury, living where my grandmother's roses used to grow. There were bulldozers everywhere, diesel fumes replacing the smell of wildflowers. Karen's standing in her air-conditioned trailer, waving at me like she's the Queen of England. I storm in there, 3 years of sand and fury still on my boots, ready to go to war. "Oh, Rebecca, you're back early," she says, fake as can be. She hands me a stack of papers, permits, architectural plans, and right there, my family's cemetery marked as community garden space. My great-grandfather's barn, built after Guadalcanal, labeled demolished for safety compliance. Her smile could have frozen fire. "It's all perfectly legal, sweetie," she coos. "Your neighbor Walt received all the notices. We even have his signature." Walt's signature? My blood went cold. I hit the courthouse like a tornado. Dolores Martinez, the county clerk, was waiting. "Honey, this whole thing stinks worse than roadkill in August," she says, spreading out files. Karen filed these HOA papers 1 week after your deployment orders went public. She was hunting you. Then she pulls up the acceptance forms with Walt's signature, dated 3 months ago. Rebecca, Walt's been in the hospital 4 months. I visit him every Sunday. That's when it hit me. Karen hadn't just stolen my land. She'd forged an old veteran signature. Identity theft, document forgery, the whole works. Dolores wasn't done. Turns out 3 other military families in the county, same story. All had elderly caretakers who'd signed HOA agreements while hospitalized or worse. This wasn't greed. It was a targeted operation, picking off military families when their guards were down. I called Sarah Chun at the Veterans Justice Project. She listened, then said, "Rebecca, this isn't just fraud. This is federal racketeering, RICO territory." So we started building a federal case. Every forged signature, every backdated permit, every little breadcrumb. Meanwhile, Karen doubled down. Heavy equipment was chewing up my grandmother's garden. That night, I showed Walt the acceptance form. His hand shook. "That ain't my writing, Becca. Haven't held a pen steady since the stroke." He was furious. "She used my sickness to hurt your family." Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Welcome home, soldier. Hope you like the improvements. Since you're back, we'll need you to sign the easement for the subdivision road. Runs right through your grandma's house. By the way, Walt sends his regards from his hospital stay." K. Attached was a photo, a bulldozer parked on my grandmother's grave, and a picture of Walt's forged signature. Amazing how cooperative elderly neighbors become with the right motivation. She was taunting me, confessing to crimes, gloating. I sent it all to Sarah. "Rebecca, Karen just confessed to multiple felonies. Identity theft, elder abuse, desecration of human remains." Within an hour, the FBI was involved. Karen thought she was untouchable, picking on soldiers and old men. She just picked a fight with the federal government. The next morning, I woke to chainsaws. Through the trailer window, I watched Karen's crew cut down the century-old oak where 4 generations of Torres kids carved their names. Karen stood at the property line, coffee in hand. "Morning, neighbor," she calls. "We're planting lovely Bradford pears for community standards." I nearly lost it, but every word she spoke was more ammo for the federal case. Turns out, we weren't the only ones. Calls poured in, other military families targeted the same way. One guy lost his farm while deployed to Syria. Another came home to find his store replaced by Karen's luxury shopping center. The pattern was surgical. Elderly caretakers, forged signatures, foreclosures while soldiers served overseas. We gathered at Sarah's office, maps and coffee everywhere. 7 confirmed cases, 12 million stolen. Karen's ex-husband, Bradley, was the legal mastermind, a former Army JAG officer, using insider knowledge to hunt vulnerable military families. But Karen wasn't done. She launched a whisper campaign, anonymous letters to neighbors saying I was unstable, dangerous, suffering from combat PTSD. Suddenly, folks I grew up with crossed the street. Parents pulled their kids inside. The grocery clerk started asking if I needed help. Then the police came, reports that I'd been making threats, stockpiling weapons. Karen appeared at the edge of the crowd, thanking officers for keeping the neighborhood safe from poor Rebecca. But she slipped up, revealed details only someone involved in the investigation would know. Deputy Collins, who'd known my family forever, caught it. "Rebecca, this whole thing stinks like 3-day-old fish." He handed me a card. "Federal agent left this for you. Karen made a tactical error tonight." Turns out, Karen was surveilling federal agents, national security violation. But she didn't slow down. Next morning, I found backhoes in my family cemetery. Headstones smashed, marble angels tossed in the mud. Karen was on the phone, telling investors the removal was ahead of schedule. I confronted her. "Don't worry, we relocated your relatives. Much more appropriate than this old family plot. No court order, no approval. just pure arrogance. Sarah's response was nuclear. Rebecca, she just committed felonies, desecration, violation of burial laws. Your great-grandfather's land grant includes tribal sites. That's 20 years minimum. Federal marshals arrived. Evidence everywhere. This was bigger than property theft. Cultural genocide. Agent Martinez called it. But Karen's real muscle wasn't lawyers. It was private security. 3 black SUVs pulled in. Miss Torres, we represent Whitmore Development. If you persist with false claims, accidents happen. Veterans, PTSD, you know how it is. They just threatened to stage my murder as a suicide. That recording went straight to the FBI. Martinez called, Rebecca, that's domestic terrorism. We're moving tonight. But then my commanding officer called, allegations about my conduct, possible security violations. Karen had played her nuclear card, try to get me court-martialed, destroy my credibility as a witness. At Fort Hood, my old commander, Colonel Mitchell, led the interrogation. Sergeant Torres, there are no military land grants from 1943. Program ended in 35. But Dolores, the clerk, found proof. Someone with high-level DoD access was altering records, erasing evidence of military family property rights. It was Bradley, Karen's ex, using his JAG credentials to target families, manipulate databases, and orchestrate attacks. Colonel Mitchell's eyes turned cold. This is treason. Using classified resources to hurt service members, that's a capital offense. Within 24 hours, Fort Hood was a war room. FBI, military intelligence, charts showing Bradley and Karen's crimes across 8 states. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial trails, intercepted communications, plans to eliminate witnesses. Military cyber specialists traced every move Bradley made. He'd been using databases meant to protect us to target us. Our little group grew. Walt, even after his ordeal, insisted on helping. Local VFWs and the American Legion supplied volunteers. But Bradley and Karen didn't back down. They burned courthouse records, kidnapped Walt, filed fake IRS claims, froze our bank accounts, even threatened active troops overseas. When Sarah Chun, our attorney, disappeared, we knew it had gone beyond property theft. This was full-scale, asymmetric warfare. But military intelligence was already watching. For 72 hours, they let Bradley think he was winning, all the while recording his every crime: arson, kidnapping, threats against witnesses and combat troops. The final nail was Bradley's own voice, planning to murder military families, selling national security info to foreign agents. The scale of the corruption was staggering. Judges, commissioners, even Pentagon officials on the payroll. Walt managed to send GPS coordinates from captivity. That triggered a joint military federal rescue and arrest operation. Right as we prepared to move, though, Bradley tried to flip the script, surrendered at the Pentagon, claiming we were the traitors. Suddenly, we're the ones facing military tribunal. The hearing was broadcast everywhere, media circus. Bradley spun himself as the hero, claimed we'd fabricated evidence. But the mountain of recordings, financial records, digital footprints was impossible to deny. When confronted, Bradley invoked his right against self-incrimination, a move that, in the military, is as good as a confession. General Hawkins' verdict: Colonel Whitmore, you're stripped of rank and remanded to federal custody on charges of treason, racketeering, and conspiracy. 6 months later, I stood on the porch of the rebuilt Torres Ranch. The sunrise over hill country had never looked sweeter. The smell of cedar and honeysuckle mixed with children's laughter, military families rebuilding together. Walt, now a local hero, taught kids how to hammer nails into the new barn, sharing stories of courage and what it means to protect family. The federal trial set records. Bradley got life for treason, Karen got 28 years, and corrupt officials across 8 states fell. Even Congress passed new laws. mandatory federal investigations for any legal action against deployed service members, 20-year sentences for predators. Our ranch became the Military Family Heritage Center. $43 million recovered. And more importantly, now military families have a real shield. The skills I brought home from Afghanistan, now used to defend the home front. My own PTSD eased, knowing I was protecting others like me. One day, the phone rang, a new case. A funeral home director targeting Gold Star families, foreclosing on widows. Send everything, I said. We don't fight alone anymore. Walt appeared beside me, hammer in hand, and just grinned. Another fight, Becca. Another fight, Walt. But this time we have an army. Now I'll ask you, where do you draw the line between justice and revenge? Can you really trust the people sworn to protect you? Drop your own HOA nightmare or story of injustice below. Who knows, your case might be next. And if you believe in fighting for what's right, share your take, subscribe, and let's make sure America never abandons those who serve.